does it normally take for a package to get to you? A day? A week? A month? How about over 3 years? Well, something like that happened in India not too long ago. At first glance, it doesn't seem all that surprising. Packages get delayed or even lost along the way all the time. That's just the nature of parcel delivery. This wasn't some standard package. It was an entire train carriage loaded with tons of compost. Something this massive couldn't have just disappeared and then come back. Or could it? Let's find out. And yes, along the way we're going to learn some cool things about trains. It all started in 2014 when an Indian company ordered dozens of tons of compost. All the goods were stored in 21 wagons. The train left the city of Visakhapatnam on November the 10th. Its destination was in Basti district, Uttar Pradesh, 870 miles away. So, the train left the station and the trip went smoothly. A few days later, the buyer accepted the goods. 20 wagons arrived in excellent condition, but one carriage, number 107462, was missing. Where could this wagon packed full of fertilizer have gone? Did someone steal the cargo? Did it get lost along the way? The buyer asked the company that sold them the compost to find the missing part of the shipment. The employees checked the documents and confirmed that the train of 21 carriages left the station on November the 10th. Several people from the rail station saw it. Then the train passed through some settlements and lost one carriage. But how? The buyer contacted the railway services but didn't receive any response. It seemed the train car had just disappeared. The documents indicated that all the paid goods went to the destination, which meant the buyer wouldn't get their money back. So they just lost more than $10,000. Months and years had passed, the incident eventually forgotten. But then, on July 25th, 2018, railway workers discovered an old carriage with the number 107462 on it at the station in Basti district, the original destination point. The company contacted the seller about their discovery, but they refused to accept the goods because the fertilizer had rotted long ago. They waited for the owner to come for it, but no one came, and no one reported it missing. So they towed the abandoned train car back to Basti district a few months later. By that time, the buyer had already reported the rail company about the lost compost, and they had already stopped searching for it, while the car was practically right under their noses. To this day, no one knows why the car was disconnected or where it's been all this time. You know where this would have never happened? Japan. There, you can ride the most punctual trains in the world. They arrive at all stations to the minute. All the locals know the trains are never late, so they can never use that excuse on their boss. But if something does happen to cause the train to arrive late, passengers receive a special ticket from the rail company that they can use as proof to protect them from their boss's accusations. Japan has not only the most punctual trains in the world, but also the fastest. I'm talking about maglev trains that can reach speeds up to 374 miles per hour. To give you an idea of how fast that is, the fastest recorded speed set by a Formula One car is 231.4 miles per hour. Not even close to the maglev train just traveling down its normal route. What's more, even if it travels at top speed, you can comfortably sit in your seat and drink tea on the train. You won't feel any vibrations or hear the sound of the wheels because it has no wheels at all. Maglev is short for magnetic levitation. Using the power of magnets, the train is basically suspended, floating just above the railway, meaning they don't actually touch, meaning there's next to no friction. This is what allows maglev trains to reach and then maintain such incredible speeds. Wouldn't it be cool to have such trains in every city? I mean, forget about traffic jams, am I right? But unfortunately, they're not so popular around the world. Charging the train's magnets requires a lot of energy. They heat up to incredibly high temperatures during the trip, and then they need to cool down after. And this also requires a lot of incredibly expensive infrastructure. For many countries, such trains would be simply economically unviable. For now. That carriage in India would probably have been standing at the railway station forever if someone hadn't noticed it. But what if it was a whole train with, let's say, 100 cars? I mean, what do people do with old train cars? Usually they would put old trains in landfills, dismantle them for scrap, dispose of them with pressure compacting, or melt them down. But the most popular practice is to load the bare hulls of wagons onto a big ship and then throw them in the ocean. It's not as wasteful as you think. The trains actually provide a great frame for corals and plant life to grow on them. And soon these overgrown train carriages become homes for fish and other ocean inhabitants. This is how the people in New York decided to get rid of their old trains. From 2001 to 2010, they sank more than 2,000 cars this way. And soon, these trains became artificial reefs. They got completely covered by corals and algae, and shells, crabs, sea sponges, mackerels, perches, and sea turtles settled in each car. Underwater photographers and divers filmed those wagons and even saw dolphins swimming through them. It's like an underwater city where the trains are free real estate for the fish. So, people provided modern housing for the fish and saved about $30 million on recycling. I mean, I use the term modern very loosely. They look more like phantom trains. But you know what the coolest thing about phantom trains is? They actually exist. And you know what's even cooler? You can get in and ride one. You can find such trains in England, in small towns like Sneyd. Now, imagine you stepped onto the empty train station there. It looks decrepit and abandoned. There's no parking, no ticket machines, no shops. And now you hear the sounds of a train arriving at the station. It seems normal enough, but when you step inside, you'll probably feel some discomfort since you're the only passenger on this phantom train. You can walk from the first carriage to the last one if you like. No one will stop you. You can actually choose from several similar trains. Yeah, there's a lot of them moving all around England. They're left running through abandoned railways because it actually works out economically for the country. To cancel these phantom train routes, you'd need to go through many bureaucratic procedures and spend taxpayers' money. And there's no need to do all of that if the trains just go and don't bother anyone. Also, they attract many tourists and enthusiasts who love to visit abandoned stations. If you're interested, you should know that it's not so easy to find these routes. You need to carefully study train schedules on the internet, since not even all the railway workers know about them. In some remote places, the trains arrive only once every few days. But what about real phantom trains? There are many stories about trains that have mysteriously disappeared throughout the years. The most popular one is the legend of the Zanetti Train Company. Several wagons disappeared with dozens of passengers in a mountain tunnel in Italy in 1911, and then popped up out of the blue in 1845 in Mexico? But of course, there's no evidence for this story. Someone just wrote it in a newspaper and everyone believed it. The same thing happens with planes and ships that supposedly travel through time. Although it's much more common for sailing vessels to become abandoned and then left to sail aimlessly on the seas for decades. There's much more documented evidence of that. But if you really saw a mysterious train arriving at an old railway through the fog in the middle of the night, would you step inside?
China plans on building a train that will connect mainland China to the United States. The track will start in the northeast region and then make its way through Siberia in eastern Russia. It will then go under the sea through the Bering Strait into Alaska in the US through a 125-mile underwater tunnel. It will then flow across Canada's Yukon Mountains and British Columbia and finally to the United States. And once there, it can connect to every major train station in America. The total distance, around 8,000 miles. This China, Russia, Canada, and US network was conceived in 2014 by a group of Chinese engineers who had a vision of a major transcontinental train track. They claim that if the project is built, then you will need just 2 days for a trip from China to America without having to go to the airport. A train ride is much smoother than a plane. and offers people better opportunities to experience traveling near the ground rather than up in the air. And the trip itself can boost tourism across 4 countries. Even though a plane ride from China to the US takes just 14 hours, depending on where you're coming from, anyone will get to experience the joys of looking out of the window and seeing yourself whisk through the land. This new rail system will be 1,800 miles longer than the Trans-Siberian Railroad, which is the longest railroad in the world, and the tunnel itself will be 4 times longer than the English Channel. If the project gets the green light, then it would cost a total of $200 billion. Building on the main surface won't be so much of a hassle and won't be as challenging as one would expect. But the tunnel in the Bering Strait will require many skilled and experienced engineers to construct it. And they have already figured out how they're going to do it. It will be divided into 3 levels with 2-way traffic. The upper level will accommodate the high-speed trains, while the bottom level will be for the slow-moving cargo and passengers, while the middle level will be reserved for emergencies. The cargo train can move up to 100 million tons of cargo, which makes up 8% of the world's freight cargo between Europe, Russia, China, Japan, South Korea, Canada, and the United States. Passengers wanting to leave from Alaska to Russia and vice versa will only have to take a 20-minute high-speed train ride to their destination. The tunnel alone in the Bering Strait will cost around $35 billion. From start to finish, it could take anywhere between 12 to 15 years to complete. The project will involve many international firms and construction companies to help out with completing it. This could possibly be the most expensive project in history if funded properly. And it has to be strong enough to handle the icy waters in the Bering Strait and the strong waves around it. The China, Russia, Canada, America railway line would be the most expensive and ambitious mega project in history and would take years to complete. But according to some resources, China is confident that they have the technology necessary to do something of this scale. It will change the transportation industry forever and increase tourism across all continents. If this project is going to be built, then it would be technically possible to travel from a train station in Portugal all the way to the United States. Europe has an impressive train network that's all connected to each other. From Eastern Europe to Central Asia, you could take a train from certain countries until you end up in China. For the past 20 years, China's speedy rail network has grown incredibly. It has the world's largest high-speed rail network that covers more than 23,000 miles. Based in Shanghai, it's also the fastest commercially operating train, which reaches speeds up to 270 miles per hour. So once in China, you can get on any train and speed off to wherever you want to. It will be the ultimate traveling experience to only travel by train from continent to continent. There won't be any need to travel by an airplane. So if you have fear of flying, let's say, then this will be the perfect way for you to go by. But building train tunnels underwater isn't easy. The best engineers have to figure out all the risks beforehand. The Channel Tunnel, for example, is an underwater train that takes you from London to Paris in just 2.5 hours at cruising speed. The train is highly equipped with the most advanced technology in the market to ensure comfortable travel. If you have any work to do, then you can just pop open your laptop and connect to the Wi-Fi. Want to take a break? Just head to the cafe for a quick drink and enjoy the lounge feel and the great beverages. And if you feel like watching a movie or catching up on your favorite TV series, then the train offers that too. You won't feel the time pass since you can just relax in luxurious leather seats in business premier class. Train travels at around 186 miles per hour and is considered to be the world's longest underwater tunnel, considering that most of it is submerged. The tunnel itself is 31 miles long and costs $6.3 billion. It began construction in 1988 and was completed 6 years later in 1994. It was considered to be one of the 7 wonders of the modern world, in line with the Empire State Building in New York, or the Panama Canal, or the San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. And just like the China to US Dream project, this tunnel also has 3 tracks, 2 used for trains and a smaller one for emergencies. Each shuttle is 2.5 thousand feet long and needed 13,000 employees to construct it. Even though many people got to visit the City of Love in Paris and the multicultural hub of Europe in London, the channel is also used for import and export. According to some reports, 26% of traded goods travel between the UK and the rest of Europe each year using the tunnel. China approved the first underwater speed train from the port of Ningbo near Shanghai to Zhoushan, which is a group of islands on the east coast of China. The brand new railway will stretch for around 50 miles, with a decent part of it built underwater. What makes it cooler is that the train will rely on a magnetic track where the train cabins will float in the air on the tracks and speed away. If this project becomes a reality, then it will most likely feel like riding in a royal carriage. You can book cabins and rooms with multiple bedrooms and accommodations. You'd be treated like a guest of honor at any ceremony. Constant entertainment and food are yours all day long. Ticket prices may vary, but still be expensive, so not everyone could afford it. There's high-speed Wi-Fi, of course, in all areas, with some of the best seats in the world. It will be possible to live in Europe and work in Asia without flying. Even living in Russia and working in Alaska can be a reality. And if you were in the US, you can also remain on the ground and still get to London via the network. And once you reach Europe, you'd have to take the train to Paris and then the Channel to London. But there hasn't been any news on the project so far. It hit an economic wall and is still in the conceptualizing stages. Many critics didn't hold back on how this project could not revolutionize the transportation industry, but might instead sink it into more depth. They claim that cargo ships and flights are just as good and a lot cheaper, so there's no need to put such large amounts of money for something that maybe only a handful of people can use. Moving cargo through trains won't necessarily be as fast as planes or ships. If this train network replaces shipping and flights, then many people who work in aviation would have to change jobs and move on to trains. Of course, something like this wouldn't happen overnight and would probably take decades. This project might even open doors for countries in Asia and Africa to build mega network speed trains all connected to each other. You might one day travel by train from South Africa all the way to the United States, passing through Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, China, Russia, and eventually the US. And if the train network expands even more, it can reach all over South America, which would make your trip even longer. It could reach every continent in the world except Antarctica. Imagine a worldwide railway network of high-speed trains connected to every station on Earth.
It was a pitch-dark night, and we were out for a walk. Suddenly, a bright white light came from the train tracks. It was getting closer and closer before it reached the woods and suddenly faded away in the distance. This story, told by hundreds of witnesses, sounds quite normal until you find out those train tracks have long been abandoned and torn out. The last train that could have been the source of light had departed many years ago. The mysterious ghost train became the main site of St. Louis, a little village in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan. There are just around 400 people living there, and hundreds visit it to see the St. Louis light. It was featured in books and online, and was on TV shows like Unsolved Mysteries. For decades, no one could explain what it really was. Some people spotted a white light. Others said they'd seen a red one. An urban legend explained the red light was a lantern carried by a ghost of a train conductor who had lost his life one night examining the tracks. Scientists tried to debunk both ghost-involving theories, but failed. Then, 2 high school students from northern Saskatchewan decided to jump in. They first witnessed the ghost train on a road trip to St. Louis. One of the girls said it must have been car headlights, but she needed evidence to prove that. Together with her friend, she decided to find an answer and make it their science fair project. They made several field trips to St. Louis for research. The young Ghostbusters used a detailed map, a compass, and a GPS system, which was pretty rare back in 2001. The girls found the location from where the ghost light was seen best of all. Then, they drew a straight line on the map to where the light was coming from and marked all roads next to or on the line. One of the girls' father agreed to help them. He parked his car at various locations near the lines and flashed his headlights. The girls didn't see them, as all the places seemed to be too low. Finally, they found a short hilltop highway stretch. For 20 minutes, the dad was flashing his lights on and off, and every time the lights went on, the girls could spot the ghost train. When he turned the car around, they saw the mysterious red light as well. The spot was rather far away from the track, so it was possible to see it thanks to diffraction. The light passed through a little opening, maybe the trees, and became larger. The smart girls received gold medals at the science fair for their project. 10 years later, a similar story happened in Anson, Texas. Each night, the locals noticed a mysterious light at one spot of the highway. They called it Anson Light and believed it was a mother with a lantern searching for her son. He'd disappeared in a snowstorm a long time ago. His mom went looking for him and never came back either. A group of students didn't believe in this beautiful story and decided to find the source of light with their iPhones. They followed Google Maps down the dirt road to a highway that they thought to be the light source. Halfway to the light, it was already clear it was really coming from cars, and not a mother with a lantern. It's easy to be a Ghostbuster outside with your friends, but what if you had a ghost in your own home? This is what happened to a family who moved into an old house in 1921. The house was huge, with gas lights, no electricity, and many passageways. Just a classic movie haunted house. One morning, the lady who went down in records as Mrs. H heard footsteps over her head when she was home alone. She rushed upstairs and found an empty room. She checked every room and also looked one floor up. It was all empty. Then, she started hearing strange noises when she was in bed at night. It sounded like someone was moving furniture and china and sighed in the silence. Whatever was haunting the family was getting braver and braver. It followed them along the halls. It felt like it was about to approach them and come into contact. One of the children of Mrs. H once ran into her room and asked why she was calling him. She said it must have been the wind, but the child was positive it was someone's voice. The plants didn't live long in that house. Finally, the scariest thing happened. Mrs. H woke up one night and clearly saw a man and a woman in her room. She had to stop it all somehow, so she asked her brother-in-law for help. He did his research and suggested it could be a carbon monoxide leak. This colorless, odorless, and tasteless gas had caused similar visions in other people. When they checked the gas, they found the gas was coming out of the furnace and into the room instead of going out through the chimney. It gave the family headaches, hallucinations, dizziness, and other unpleasant symptoms. Some ghosts leave fingerprints behind, or so says the San Antonio legend. According to it, in 1938, a school bus was driving through a rough snowstorm and got stuck on the train tracks. When the train crew saw the bus, they did their best to stop, but it was impossible to avoid the collision. No one in the bus had survived in that accident, and ever since, the ghosts of those people are protecting others from the same fate. Hundreds of people have visited the spot ever since to play with destiny. They leave the car in neutral on so-called ghost tracks and wait for the ghosts to come and help them out. Some people put baby powder on their cars to have fingerprints as evidence. And they do see the fingerprints once they get out of the car. Turns out there's a logical explanation for this one as well. There's an incline on the tracks, so when the car moves a bit, you can see your own fingerprints in baby powder. And the original story that inspired the legend didn't even happen in San Antonio, but in Salt Lake City, Utah. Something unexplainable was happening on the campus of Coventry University in England. Whoever visited the 14th century cellar ran out of it in fear. They said they'd seen a ghost of a woman. One lecturer at the school, who was also a part-time ghostbuster, decided to debunk the mystery. He was once working at his lab when he felt the presence of someone else. He was brave enough to do research in the cellar and found out the reason for all this madness was what he called the fear frequency. The levels of sound frequency in the cellar were so high that they made people see optical illusions, feel anxiety, and get chills down the spine. A similar effect makes you hear humming of a glass when you're running a damp finger on it. A small village of Kalachi in Kazakhstan has become home to a unique, mysterious sickness nicknamed the Sleep Hollow. Back in 2013, the first villagers got affected by it. They were doing their regular routine, biking, going to work, or chatting with friends, when suddenly they'd fall asleep. It all looked similar: slurred speech, lightheadedness, and then boom! Some of them only woke up after 6 days of loud snoring. And when they did, they didn't remember anything that happened to them and experienced weakness and headaches. The Sleeping Beauty-style sickness affected people of all ages, including kids, and even a cat named Marquise. Its owner said the cat started attacking walls, furniture, and the family dog. Then it dozed off and was snoring like a human for hours. More than 150 people got the Sleep Hollow in 3 years. Doctors and sleep disorder experts struggled to find a solution. A lot of people blamed possible radiation from nearby uranium mines. Kazakhstan's doctors checked over 7,000 homes, but found the radiation levels weren't high enough to cause it. They also checked water supply in the area for heavy metals and bacteria, and it was all right as well. Then, the former head of the uranium mine suggested the gas was seeping through the ground. Scientists tested this theory, and it turned out to be the answer. The dangerous gas was in the air, and it took down the amount of oxygen, making people fall asleep. Families started moving out one by one from that Sleepy Hollow as soon as the mystery had been solved.
What a peaceful morning. Can't wait to start the trip. Wait a minute. What's wrong with the water level? No! The wave is already here! I gotta move as fast as I can! Hey, lady! It's too dangerous!
Ah! Ow!
Oh, the water is so cold! Come on, let's go upstairs.
Okay.
We need to climb as high as we can. Otherwise, we're gonna be washed away. Don't panic. We'll get out of here. Oh, gosh. Look! There's a departing train! We should try to jump on it. Hey! Come on, buddy! Let us in! Wow! Oh, watch out! Come on, I got you. Look, here's another train. Run! Hey! Wait for us! I don't like it. There's too much water. We should jump on the railways and try to escape. It's falling on our heads! That was epic. We gotta climb. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Come on, I got you.
Oh no, another one.
Ah! Watch your head!
Ow!
Give me your hand! Don't be afraid. I'm here. I'll pull you out. There you go.
Yeah, wow.
No worries. The water is coming. Ugh. Everything's falling apart. Let's get out of here.
Okay.
Let's go! Ugh. Let's run to the front car. I have an idea. Luckily, I can drive trains. Hear the sound of water? Turn around! The water is coming!
Wow. Let's get out of here.
Whoa! The wave is huge! Hold on! Whoa! Thank goodness we're inside the train.
Today's our lucky day.
Oops! This train didn't go far, did it? Wow! Oh, watch out!
Ah! Ow! Ow! Are you okay? Not injured?
No worries.
Let's go, bro. Move it.
Come on! Whoa! I don't like it. I gotta move quickly. It seems like the worst is over. Let's go this way. Ah! The heck? What is that? Whoa! Oh no! I gotta get out of here. Yeah! Don't mess with me! Bye! Whoa! Ah, no! Please don't hurt me! Well, looks like it's my only way out. Wow! Okay, it's not that bad, is it? Whoa! That was tough. I gotta move on. Oh no! How did you get here?
Phew. Wow. We kind of ran away.
Don't panic. We'll get out of here.
Oh no. Hurry up!
Run! Oh, shh. I should be quiet. Oh, watch out! Whoa! Come on! Whoa!
Hurry up!
Let's go! Get off me, you monster! I have an idea. Whoa! Everything's falling apart. Let's get out of here.
Phew. Thank goodness we're alive.
Well, at least we're safe.
Today's our lucky day.
Wow! Don't be afraid. I have an idea.
It's running over here, and it doesn't look friendly. Hurry up! Ah!
Everything's falling apart. Come on. Oh, the water is so cold. Everything's falling apart! Come on! Okay now, what's next? I have an idea! Luckily I can drive trains. Oops! This train didn't go far, did it? That was epic.
You could wake up in New York, grab a bagel for breakfast, hop on a train, and by lunchtime, you'd already be in London enjoying fish and chips. What sounds like every tourist's dream could be a reality soon. Right now, traveling between these two cities usually takes about 8 endless hours by plane. But a high-speed train zipping through a massive transatlantic tunnel could make the same journey in just 54 minutes. The plan is to construct this train beneath the Atlantic Ocean, so the stations would look like those trendy underwater restaurants. Not only would you get to Europe in record time, but you wouldn't have to deal with jet lag or feel sick from turbulence. So far, this mega project sounds amazing, but can we really pull this off? Well, that's the million-dollar question. Actually, it's more like a $20 trillion question. That's how much this train and its futuristic underwater stations would cost. It's hard to imagine anyone having enough money to construct it, so specialists thought it was out of the question. But people started feeling hopeful again when Elon Musk dropped this announcement. He said not only is this kind of transportation possible, but his company could make it happen for 1,000 times less than everyone thought. Traveling between New York and London in less than an hour means the train would have to hit a jaw-dropping speed of 3,000 miles per hour. Yep, 3,000. That's about 5 times faster than the cruising speed of a commercial airplane like a Boeing 747. So, how is this even possible? Well, it's not an average tunnel. We're talking about a vacuum-sealed tube underwater, which cuts out air resistance, letting trains zip through at insane speeds. And it's not just any train. It's more like a high-tech aerodynamic capsule that levitates and moves thanks to magnetic propulsion. At least that's what experts think, since this kind of technology is already in use today with the fastest public train in the world, the Shanghai Maglev. This machine runs in China and hits a top speed of 186 miles per hour. What's crazy is that its locomotives are not even touching the tracks. They're literally levitating and floating just about 0.4 inches above the ground. This line takes people from Shanghai to Pudong International Airport, so travelers don't have to worry about traffic and can get to their flights super fast. This cutting-edge technology makes a 19-mile trip take just 8 minutes and 10 seconds. With a regular train, that same journey would be about 4 times longer. Back in 2001, people worked hard over 2 years to construct the Maglev train, and they also spent a lot of money, as the whole project cost over $1 billion. Despite that crazy initial price tag, keeping this line running is not as expensive as it might seem. It's actually cheaper to operate than regular trains. Since the Maglev doesn't touch the tracks, that means a lot less wear and tear and way lower maintenance costs. On top of that, its propulsion system is impressively energy efficient. As we've already mentioned, this is the fastest operational train in the world, but China isn't stopping there. They're likely to break their own record soon, having already unveiled a prototype of their next generation train, the CR450. This sleek silver bullet had reached test speeds as high as 281 miles. If this project comes to life, if people really start using it on a daily basis, it will be a game changer for high-speed rail. And it could shrink the journey between Beijing and Shanghai to less than 3 hours. That's like 1 hour less than what people take when traveling on today's high-speed train. Now, the team just needs to run a couple more tests to ensure it meets all necessary standards for commercial operations. This car looks like a Batmobile, and it's probably just as powerful. Say hello to the amazing Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute. Its sleek, futuristic design isn't just for show. Every detail on this machine was crafted to cut through air with precision, reducing drag and turbulence while boosting its high-speed performance. Experts ran the first computer simulations, and the Jesko Absolute hit an astonishing 311 miles per hour. But the team is positive that it can go even faster. This beast comes close to the cruising speed of small jets, and because of that, it smashed all records and became the fastest car in the world. When you visit the Coventry Transport Museum in England, you'll come face to face with a terrestrial vehicle that looks more like a rocket than a car. Meet the Bloodhound LSR. It's been on display since 2019, right after hitting 628 miles per hour during tests in South Africa's Kalahari Desert. But the team behind this vehicle isn't satisfied just yet, and they're 99% sure they can go even faster. So, they're planning to bring it back to the track soon, aiming to smash another record. But there's a catch. The team is still looking for a fearless, skilled pilot who can handle speeds over 800 miles per hour. And before you rush to sign up for the challenge, let me remind you, it's going to take more than just guts. You will need a major sponsorship deal too. because getting back this vehicle on the track and breaking that land speed record could cost around $15 million. If you're curious about the fastest jets in the world, look no further. Meet the North American X-15, a legendary aircraft that flew for nearly 10 years and set an unofficial world speed record of 4,520 miles per hour. This beast is so impressive that it actually reached the edge of space during its test flights in the 1960s. Yep, astronauts territory. To put that into perspective, commercial airplanes, like the ones we fly in, usually travel at altitudes of up to 42,000 feet, but the X-15 soared more than 354,000 feet. Now, imagine flying faster than ever before, zooming through the sky at over 5 times the speed of sound. That's exactly what NASA did with this revolutionary aircraft, known as the X-43A. This airplane is scramjet powered, which basically means it's an engine that operates at a supersonic level. I mean, it doesn't have any moving parts like regular jet engines do, like turbines. Instead, it uses the plane's speed to push air into the engine. The air gets compressed or squished by the plane's fast motion, then mixed with fuel and burned to produce thrust. For non-experts, this might seem crazy, even dangerous. In fact, we should mention that the first flights of the X-43A weren't exactly smooth sailing. The initial attempt happened back in June of 2001, but the airplane was destroyed after the booster rocket went out of control. Thankfully, the second and third attempts were a huge success, with record-breaking flights that made history. I know elevators aren't the first thing that comes to mind when we think about super-fast means of transportation, but it's only thanks to ultra-modern high-speed elevators that skyscrapers as tall as the Burj Khalifa and Taipei 101 became accessible. One of the fastest elevators in the world is located in the Shanghai Tower in China, which has 128 floors. To get people from the ground floor to the top of the building quickly, the elevator has to move at an incredible speed of 67 feet per second. That's faster than Usain Bolt at his top speed, but just a little slower than a cheetah. Still, it is super fast, about 5 times quicker than the elevators we ride in most buildings. So if you're afraid of heights, speed, and tight spaces, we suggest you avoid going that far. In 2017, a rail company in Japan issued an official apology for their train departing 20 seconds ahead of schedule. The passengers hardly noticed that the Tsukuba Express had left the station in eastern Tokyo at 9:44 and 20 seconds instead of 9:44 and 40 seconds. But being punctual to the second is so crucial in the country that the company just had to comment on the incident. They explained the mistake many internet users found too funny to be true by the fact that the crew had not sufficiently checked the departure time and performed the departure operation. Japanese railroads have a history of over 140 years. This has given them time to get enough know-how to tune the systems to perfection. The first ever railroad trip in the country was from Tokyo to Yokohama and transported the highest elites, including the emperor himself. The locomotive, train cars, and even the rails had to be brought from the UK. The trip lasted 53 minutes, almost twice as long as it does now. There were basically no amenities, not even bathrooms. Still, it was a success, and the first private Japanese railroad companies started popping up. In the early 20th century, after some massive train delays, the authorities took over the railroad. Their Railway Research Office improved the efficiency of engine boilers and came up with rust-resistant materials and a special type of paint to discourage bees from building hives that were a problem for train brakes. Still, the trains were pretty slow. The journey of 300 miles from Tokyo to Osaka lasted over 7 hours. The tracks would often go winding, following the course of rivers, and not the shortest route from point A to point B. Service disruptions were a common thing. Meager pay rises for workers led to staged strikes, slowdowns, and walkouts. The trains were hardly reliable. That's probably why cars and airplanes were becoming more and more popular. It all changed thanks to the Summer Olympics of 1964. Japan had to show the world what a connected and progressive nation they were, and the existing railroad system didn't send that message. So, the authorities invested a good amount of funds into their high-speed railroad system, the Shinkansen. For starters, they had to build new tracks exclusively for the new maglev, that is, magnetic levitation train. This means the high-speed trains wouldn't be slowed down by regular ones. The Shinkansen tracks were continuous welded rails, unlike regular tracks with segments bolted together. Seamless tracks meant less friction, which lets trains achieve higher speeds, and the tracks need less maintenance. Those superfast trains run thanks to superconducting magnets. When you let some electric current flow through it, you've got an extra strong magnetic field. But there's a catch. The more juice it gets, the hotter it becomes. And efficiency takes a nosedive. Just like your phone charger getting all toasty, you can blame it on electrical resistance. So, the magnet needs cooling to a chilling negative 450 degrees Fahrenheit. This creates a strong and constant magnetic field. They use these superconducting magnets with cooling units along the entire length of the train. But that's only half of the magnetic magic. The other half is hidden within the guideways. The guideway magnets are shaped like O's and alternate between north and south poles. They align with the magnets on the train. When their polarities match, the magnets repel each other. This generates a forward force that sets the train in motion. By altering the polarity of the magnets inside the train, we can control the speed. The more frequently the polarity changes, the faster the train goes. Today, Japan's largest railway company transports an average of 14 million passengers per day. The average delay for a high-speed Shinkansen train is around 20 seconds, and they're still working on reducing this number to 0. The reason for this isn't just the technical perfection of the trains and tracks, but also the Japanese mentality. Collective rules and the good of the whole society are incredibly important to the local people. They respect order and discipline to minimize any uncertainty about their future. Since Japan is located in a zone where earthquakes are frequent, these two values are literally lifesavers. For Japanese railway workers, it's a priority to work well. Conductors, train drivers, and station staff work as one team and still rely on human interaction in many ways. They have a whole system of physical gestures and voice calls they use while on duty. It's called pointing and calling, and it helps reduce mistakes during work by up to 85%. So they don't just perform their duties perfectly, but also point at it and announce what they're doing to avoid any mistakes. A train driver doing a speed check will point at the display and say, "Speed check 80." A station attendant will point down the track and sweep their arm along the platform to make sure there are no fallen passengers or bags that might get caught hanging from the train's closed door before departure. Staff training is quite rigid and brings the best results. All high-speed train drivers know how to get the train to the station within 5 seconds of scheduled arrival and stop within 3 feet of the assigned stop location. When it arrives in Tokyo, the train has only 12 minutes before moving in the opposite direction. 2 minutes are for the passengers to disembark, and 3 minutes are for the new passengers to settle in. So, the cleaning crew only has 7 minutes to do their job. One person takes care of a car with around 100 seats, and they manage to leave it pristinely clean. Teamwork at its best. If speed isn't your thing, you might enjoy the Glacier Express more than those ultra-fast Japanese trains. It's unofficially the slowest express train in the world and covers a distance of 180 miles in 8 hours. The journey goes through the breathtaking Swiss Alps and across almost 300 bridges. You will see mountain forests, alpine meadows, mountain brooks and streams, the arches of a famous viaduct, lakes, glaciers, and peaks. The Cambodian railroads used to have a fun feature. Passengers had to disassemble and put the train back together. Bamboo trains named noris transported around a dozen passengers, livestock, and other goods between small villages. A nori consisted of a single queen-sized bed platform and a lawnmower or boat engine that let it speed up to 25 miles per hour. When two noris met on the only line, the lighter one would stop and the drivers and passengers disassembled it and let the bigger one pass. Then they put it back together, all in less than a minute. Now, you can only find a nori as a tourist attraction as Cambodia has moved towards more effective trains. If you have around $5,000 to spend on a 4-day cruise around the sights of India, then the Maharaja's Express luxury train is something for you. This moving palace travels across northwest and central India and goes through most of the major tourist spots of the country. It consists of 23 cars, including accommodation, dining, bar, lounge, generator, and store cars. The presidential suite occupies the entire train car, but it's slightly more expensive, almost 3 times than the cheapest option. The most dangerous railroad in Japan, and probably the whole world, runs along the foothills of Mount Aso, the biggest active volcano in the country. You never know when it's going to wake up next, so once you buy a train ticket here, it could come with a bonus of front row seats for a spectacular natural show. You can see lava rivers and a steaming volcano top from the comfort of your seat. A part of the route passes across a high iron bridge, which is narrow and doesn't have a fence. It feels like one wrong move and the train will end up in the abyss. Would you take that risk? Let me know in the comments below.
A lot of weird incidents have happened in the mysterious valley of Haizu ever since the 1950s. People even started comparing it to the infamous Bermuda Triangle. But are they really that similar? It all started when an airplane went missing here under circumstances no one can explain yet. They searched the location back and forth, but nothing appeared to have remained of the aircraft. And guess what? No one received any SOS messages from the team on board. And to top it off, the same year, a considerable number of tourists and local residents were lost here in the valley, never to be seen again. Speaking of the Bermuda Triangle, one can link its origin story to a series of mysterious disappearances of ships and aircraft, like the one that happened in 1945, when 5 planes and 14 people on board went missing in this location while doing routine training exercises. Even a thorough investigation didn't help to establish the cause of the incident. But that wasn't the end. Between 1945 and the mid-1980s, another 25 small planes went missing while going through the Bermuda Triangle, never to be seen again. And the search parties haven't recovered a single piece of these aircraft. The Bermuda Triangle isn't the only stretch of water that has claimed ships for good. In the Pacific Ocean, near Japan, there's a tricky portion of water that has earned the nickname the Devil's Sea. The best known out of all of these disappearances is that of a fishery patrol vessel that went missing in 1953. On board were 31 crew members and scientists who were looking to investigate a recently formed volcanic island. What happened to the ship and all the people on board? We'll never know, I guess, since they never found the ship or the crew members, and there was literally no trace of them left behind. Back in 1911, a standard train was scheduled to depart from a railway station in Rome, hoping to reach the city of Milan. Needless to say, none of the 106 passengers ever made it to the destination, and no one has ever seen them again. What happened to these people and to their train? Were they really lost forever? Some people seem to believe this isn't the case. As it was completing its journey, the train was supposed to pass through a long tunnel. It did enter it, but never came out the other end of the tunnel. Nothing was left of the train, and it seemed like it literally just vanished into thin air. Only 2 of the passengers were found, but they were quite unwell at the time, and their stories did not seem to make much sense. They spoke of a dense fog that they simply jumped out of because they got so scared. 15 years later, a story spread about a group of 104 Italian people that popped up in Mexico City, claiming they had arrived by train from Rome. If that's not weird enough, the story appears to have been reported back in 1845. 66 years before the train even departed in the first place. Of course, nobody at the time actually took these people seriously, but you can't help but wonder, did they actually time travel via the Roman tunnel, or is it just another urban myth? What do you think? The Lost Colony is the story of a strange phenomenon that happened back in the late 1500s. A group of people from England had moved into a colony on Roanoke Island off the coast of present-day North Carolina. But they soon realized they didn't have enough supplies. To fix this, the colony's governor decided to head back to England to get some. He didn't manage to come back for another 3 years. When he finally did, he was astonished at what was left behind. Nothing. The entire population of the colony was gone. The only reminder of what had been there was a single word carved into a tree. To this day, nobody knows what might have happened to these people or what the carved word means. A lighthouse without an operator? You might think that can't possibly be true, but hear me out. Located in the northwestern part of Scotland are the Flannan Isles. There's nothing fancy about them since they're nothing more than a bunch of rocks and grass. But there is a famous lighthouse here hiding a dark secret. In 1900, all 3 of the lighthouse's keepers mysteriously disappeared, never to be seen again. Ever since, the islands have been completely abandoned. The lighthouse became one of those with an automated system in the 1970s. No list of places where things go missing could be complete without this mysterious forest located in Transylvania, a region in Romania. And no, it has nothing to do with the famous Count Dracula, if that's what you're thinking. It's called the Hoya Forest, and it's a place that has seen quite its share of unusual phenomena. Not only do people go missing here, but others have experienced all sorts of weird noises, from female voices to whispers. Some people claim to have time traveled between the spooky trees of the Hoya Forest. They say they had literally skipped a few hours before they went back. The Yellowhead Highway is a stretch of road located in British Columbia, Canada. One section of the road has received a lot of attention throughout the years, starting with the 1960s because of some mysterious disappearances. These events have earned it the nickname Highway of Tears. There is no reasonable explanation as to why people keep going missing here. What is more striking is that most of these people were young women. This triangular area that stretches above the desert and the Sierra Nevada mountains in the state of Nevada received quite a bit of attention because of a disappearance that happened back in 2007. A record-setting sailor, aviator, and adventurer named Steve Fawcett flew here in a small plane and then disappeared. They searched for Fawcett intensively for months, but didn't find any traces of him or the aircraft. 1 year later, the mystery of Fawcett's fate was finally solved when a hiker came across his ID cards, and later a search party found the plane's wreckage. It's one of the most visited natural resorts in the world, but Yosemite National Park carries some dark secrets of its own. Despite its beauty and abundance of wildlife, a total of 45 people went missing right here in this location. No one knows what happened to them. Hey, maybe we should ask the local bears. They might know something. There are even stories of people that disappeared from one region of the park only to pop up in a completely different location. This hasn't stopped over 3 million people that visit the park each year from wandering around this location, though. Whenever a ship happens to sink, you'd expect to at least find pieces of it on the bottom of the sea, right? Well, not if you're traveling through Lake Superior. It's located along the border of the United States and Canada, and became famous because of the great number of ships that went missing here. It may have something to do with the stormy winds, of course, but that doesn't explain why some ships simply vanish altogether, without a single piece of them ever to be found, not even at the bottom of the lake. It does gather a lot of tourists each year, though. They come here to scuba dive and see the remains of some of the ships that still lie here. The bottom of this lake even contains what's left of the notorious SS Edmund Fitzgerald. Back when it departed on June 7, 1958, it was the largest ship on North America's Great Lakes and, to this day, remains the largest ship ever to have sunk in the area. Similar to other events, The exact cause of the shipwreck remains a mystery. Have you ever noticed the colorful stripes painted on train cars? Turns out, railway companies don't waste paint just for aesthetic reasons. Every stripe design, or livery, the proper term for it, has a special meaning and serves a very important purpose. Stripes can indicate the speed of the train, the destination, and the type of carriage or service, but they're also part of the variety of symbols that help passengers understand train-related information and navigate through the station and the train. Sometimes you can find special stripes painted in different colors above the last window of some coaches. They warn passengers that this particular coach is somehow different from the others. Of course, these symbols will vary depending on the country. For example, Indian railway operators apply white stripes on blue railway coaches to indicate the unreserved second-class cars of a particular train. These stripes help passengers easily identify the available general coach when the train arrives on the platform. Meanwhile, red stripes on gray coaches indicate the first-class compartments. And these broad yellow stripes, painted on a blue or red background, indicate that the cars are reserved for sick or physically disabled passengers. And if you ever see gray coaches with green stripes on Indian trains, it means that only women are allowed to use them. Also, in 2019, the North Frontier Railway Zone of the Indian Railways introduced these pink female sleeper coaches. They were trying to encourage women to make long-distance journeys. During these trips, train workers make sure that outsiders don't have access to this car to provide better security to the female passengers that travel alone or with minor children. And the bright color helps identify female cars even during rush hours. In Japan, they also use the pink color to put special stripes on metro and suburban train lines to identify women-only cars. Male passengers are not allowed to board these cars during rush hours for security reasons. The same women-only carriages have been created in the subways of Brazil, Dubai, Indonesia, Iran, and Egypt. But let's go back to the railroad. Turns out there's a better way to get rid of annoying fellow travelers. You can buy a private railway carriage, reconstruct its interior, and make your own cozy apartment on wheels. If you're wealthy enough, of course. The National Railroad Passenger Corporation, also known as Amtrak, has provided passenger railroad services in the U.S. and Canada since the 1970s. The company has introduced a special offer. If you have a private carriage, well, Amtrak is eager to hitch it onto the scheduled train services between specified locations. This way, you can adjust your own route and travel all over the United States like a boss. Although you won't have to buy a train ticket, you'll still get a bunch of other fees, including a yearly safety inspection, annual registration fees for your private carriage, a mileage rate based on where and when you're traveling, and any other charges for any extra services. Storage cost in Amtrak's yard, for example, comes in at around $2,000 per month. And you'll have to buy a carriage in the first place. If you're just a beginner in this business without a tight budget, hey, don't worry, they'll train you. Ha, that's a joke. Actually, you can start with an unrestored beater car without electric power. Its price will start at about $25,000. Meanwhile, a fully restored carriage can cost up to $500,000, and up to infinity if you decide to push the interior to the highest level. Why not? And what if you don't want to spend very much money, but would still like to experience a rail trip in your own car? Some private collectors rent out their railway carriages to other people for short-term trips, parties, or historical tours. So, if you want to experience this adventure, just do the research in your area. Some of these tours will allow you to visit masterpiece carriages with truly sophisticated restored interiors. Now, although owning a private carriage is a very expensive hobby, at least you can paint and decorate it however you like. Meanwhile, ordinary commercial rail cars have strict corporate color schemes and cannot afford to be authentic. Sometimes we see very similar trains owned by the same company, but the stripes that decorate the cars on the outside are still slightly different. Have you ever wondered why? Who decides that, and what does it mean? Well, it usually means that the trains have been painted at different times and in different places, following the evolution of the corporate brand book and the arrival of new models of locomotives and cars. For example, Amtrak, as I mentioned earlier, remember, has developed a variety of paint schemes on its rolling stock since the beginning of intercity passenger rail services. There are 7 basic schemes or phases in use. These phases use geometric arrangements of red, white, and blue, representing the colors of the U.S. flag. The themes look alike, but the most attentive passengers will definitely not have a hard time spotting those little variations. Here's the so-called Phase 1, first introduced in 1972. Amtrak painted its locomotives using the elegant platinum mist color, or in more simple terms, light gray. They put the iconic Arrow logo on the side and painted the roofs black. The nose is painted red on purpose. It makes the locomotive more visible to pedestrians and drivers. The company covered its passenger cars with silver paint and then red and blue stripes bracketed by thin white stripes at window level. The chevron logo was then put at one or both ends. 2 years later, the company began to operate the new GE E60 locomotives, and it launched the Phase 2 paint scheme. They replaced the famous red nose and chevron logo on the locomotives and painted stripes similar to those on the passenger cars. Most passenger cars were essentially unchanged from Phase 1 except for the removal of the chevron logo. After 2 years, Amtrak introduced Phase 3 and still uses it on some equipment. It removed the outer white pinstripes on both passenger cars and locomotives. The inner stripe was widened and the red, white, and blue stripes became equally wide. The company also painted turboliners and the LRC test train white and applied stripes at the bottom of the train. The white band was rather reflective and allowed a place for the car information. Continuing our train fashion show, next, in 1993, the company introduced Phase 4. It was a striking change after the previous era of the traditional red, white, and blue style. Phase 4 has 2 thin red stripes and a thick dark blue stripe. In this period, Amtrak brought the new Superliner 2 cars into service. In 1997, Amtrak distributed this scheme among some locomotives on the Northeast Corridor services. That's a lot of adjustment so far. But let's move on to the next phase. When Amtrak began to operate Acela Express high-speed train sets in 2000, it launched Phase 5, and it's still widely used today. They painted locomotives light gray. At the top, they applied a blue stripe, which was darker than Phases 1 through 3, but lighter than Phase 4. And the bottom was decorated with a thin red reflective sill stripe. The company put its logo near the front or rear of the unit. Meanwhile, express boxcars received blue stripes on both top and bottom. And all non-passenger cars, like Autotrain Autoracks, received an all-gray finish with one red stripe and logo. And now we're heading into Phase 6, also known as Phase 4B. Why? Don't ask. Amtrak introduced it in 2002, and it's currently in use on most passenger cars. They kept the same stripe style as Phase 4, including wide window stripes on single-level cars and narrow stripes on superliners. The red reflective sill stripe and mid-tone blue on Phase 5 are still in use. Single-level cars got white logos within a blue stripe, while superliners got blue logos below the stripes. 5 of the first 6 Siemens Charger ALC 42 logos retain this beautiful Phase 6 scheme, mostly blue body with red and black around the windshield and red and silver chevrons at the rear. In July 2021, Amtrak celebrated its 50th anniversary and introduced some new designs to mark this milestone. 6 new specially made anniversary locomotives include this unique midnight blue livery that celebrates the company's employees who keep passengers moving across the nation throughout the night. Amtrak also presented a sneak peek of what Phase 7 will look like and promised to bring a greater sense of modernity and cohesion throughout their train designs. Okay, but what about this fashionable train creature? You've probably recognized this color scheme. Railway companies call it tiger stripes because it reminds them of the stripes of a tiger. Okay, I get it. They use this paint pattern to improve the visibility of their locomotives. First of all, the entire locomotive gets painted bright yellow. And then they add diagonal black stripes to the front and back. This way you can see this tiger moving from a very far distance. And, like, keep off the tracks.